Hello, talented people. This is Catrina Frison of Banner Media Group. I want to talk about strategy today, specifically for writers. Now, you have a story in your heart that you want to tell, and I want to divide it into kind of sections. These are the things I want to give you some tips on the things you need to do before you start writing. Okay? So first of all, first section, let's start with fictional. Okay? You have a novel. You have a story that you want to tell and it's fictional. The first thing you want to do is what is your overall story? What is it that you want to write about? And you should be able to tell your story in one sentence. Like you should be, if someone says, "What is your book about?" You should be able to tell them a complete story in one sentence. So, what is the overall story? What is this generally about in terms of your novel, right? Now, the second thing is you want to develop your characters. Who is the leading character? Who are the supporting characters? And when I say develop your characters, this is what are their names? Let's just go with one character at a time. What is the person's name? What is their age? What are their habits? What are their fears? What is the overall goal that's getting you through the story? What are their pet peeves? What relationship do they have with the other characters? And on and on. I mean, you need to be as detailed as possible concerning your main character. Um, you know, it's great to be able to get to know a character and the things about that character are seen throughout the novel. It and make them a real person. Even though they may be victorious in reaching their goals, if you have it go that way, they're still a human being. So you want to make sure that they have fears, that they have, that they have struggles, that because all humans do, we may be great at certain things and we may suck at other things, but you want to make sure that you make this an actual person, you know what I mean? Three-dimensional and not just, seeing a one side of a person in terms of their personality. So develop your characters. With your supporting, does this person live with people? Are there neighbors? Are there coworkers? Whatever your story is unfolding, there are other people who are part of this cast. And so you want to make sure that you develop them as well. You may not develop them as deeply, but there's nothing wrong with you developing them as deeply. You want to have backstories, even though the backstory may not be, you may not embellish it in the novel so much, but if it's an ex-boyfriend or if it's a childhood friend or if it's a college professor, whatever the case might be, all of these people will interact with one another, and you want to in a novel you can tell everything in a novel. You can explain what she thought, what he wanted to do. Like you can do so much in a novel, especially a fictional one. And let me just say this too. Many times, because I'm a writer, many times as a writer, you write about things that you know, but I love to challenge myself with writing about characters that I know nothing about. Meaning, I will have, I love law shows and I have an interest in the law, but I'm not a lawyer. So I may put lawyers in my stories, but I've got to research to know would they do this or how they would do this or certain laws, that kind of thing. I may put doctors, and I don't know a thing about medicine, you know what I mean, in terms of practicing it. So it causes me to research those things to make sure that I'm accurate in how I'm depicting a doctor and the kinds of terminology and all of that. So what I'm saying to you is don't just utilize characters that you're familiar with. I mean, that can be a starting place. And that could be the majority if it helps you in the beginning. But make at least one character be somebody that you've never even met before, to give you some variety in the type of people that you have in your story. So the next thing you want to do is you want to establish the location. Where is the story taking place? What is the city? What is the state? What is the country? Is it multiple places? Because locations can almost become characters. They can help you in a lot of ways, in your descriptions, and you want to bring people there. I'm a traveler. I'm a world traveler. So I love to read books that have to deal with other countries, especially countries that I've been to, because I can imagine in my mind, oh, yeah, that I can see what that looks like. Take the reader somewhere. You can even take the reader somewhere that you've never been, because you can do some research in terms of what it looks like, what the culture is like, and embed that in your story. So establish the location. Now, the next thing you want to do is determine who the bad guy is in the story. There's always a bad guy. The bad guy can be an actual person, typically, someone who stands in the way of your main character reaching their goal. Circumstances can be the bad guy. Poverty can be the bad guy. Anxiety can be the bad guy, like different things, but you have to establish what is that thing, person or thing, that stands in the way of my main character reaching their goal. Establish that. And then you want to determine the overall message to the audience. Why is the audience, why do you want this? Why do you want to tell this story? And what do you want your audience or your readers to walk away with? What do you want them to feel like when they are finished when they're at the last page? What do you want them to think about once they've finished your novel? You want to have that in mind as you are unfolding your story, how you want to communicate to them. That's really important. And so you put those things, you figure all those things out first, then it's easy for you to get to writing. Now, if you're writing a non-fictional story, you can apply the same measures in this regard. If you're talking about, let's say you're making your story, telling your story, or a part of your story, your testimony, then, you already know what the overall story is, right? And you already know yourself and the characters or the people that you're also sharing stories about, but you want to be clear about what you're sharing and why you're sharing it. You know what I mean? You want to be clear about, the message that you want to give to your readers, what you want them. You can go straight to the last point I made is, what do I want my audience to learn? What do I want them to walk away with? If I'm sharing this testimony because this typically will help someone, or I'm celebrating, people who write memoirs, I'm celebrating my life, and maybe some parts of my life can be inspiring to someone else. How I overcame, challenges, how I got started in my career, all those kinds of things people love to read and can be inspired by. So tell your story and tell what you are comfortable talking about. Sometimes we go through things and we haven't fully healed from them. I think you should heal first before you tell certain parts of your story. But all of it can be helpful to the masses. Now, if you are writing an instructional book, you want to teach someone how to do something. Again, what's the skill that you're trying to teach? Who is your reader? Who should be learning this? And everyone is not a good answer unless, well, I won't even give an unless. Everyone is not always the answer. You want to own in, because there are lots of books out there, and there'll continue to be lots of books out there. But the thing is, you want to own in on the person whom will totally grab a hold of this and whom you really want to reach. Who is your niche audience? Pray on that. Find out who your people are. And so, and be clear. Write as if you were writing for a child. You want to be clear in your instruction. You want to even include some visuals in terms of you want to encourage your reader. Like, there are all kinds of things. Make it conversational, make it interactive. You can, ask some questions at the end of each chapter, or you can, there are all kinds of things that you can do. But write your book. Tell your story. Do it well. And I'd love to read it. So, hey, when you finish your book, let me know. Put your book in the comments. I'd love to. I love to read. So, if you've got some book recommendations or you're working on something, I'm certainly happy to pray for you in terms of completing your project. I've come across so many people who start, but they don't finish. Let this be the year that you finish your book. Finish your book. I'm Catrina Frison at Banner Media Group. If you need some help in terms of constructing your book, I would encourage you to reach out to me. I will put an email in the description, and you certainly can schedule a time, or even if you want to go to bannerexcellence.com and set up a professional chat. I'm happy to talk with you about your book project. So until next time, I will see you later.